In the ancient texts of the Bible, one of the most intriguing mysteries is the story of Noah's Ark and the flood. Many people interpret this tale as an account of divine judgment on a world filled with moral decay, corruption, and rampant violence. But hidden within these ancient passages lies an even deeper mystery involving a mysterious race known as the Nephilim, beings who were often described as giants or fallen ones who roamed the earth and possibly contributed to humanity's rapid moral decline. Could these beings have been a part of the reason for the flood itself? Could the flood have been not only a reset for humanity, but a specific act of judgment meant to eradicate the influence of these ancient giants? In this journey, we will uncover the origins, role, and influence of the Nephilim, and why their very presence may have accelerated the necessity for divine intervention through the flood. We'll explore this biblical account from Genesis, look at related texts, and consider interpretations from scholars and theologians. Together, we'll examine one of the Bible's most compelling mysteries. Was the flood a judgment against these ancient giants, the Nephilim? To understand the full significance of the flood, we must first look at the condition of the world before this momentous event. Genesis 6 paints a bleak picture, describing a world that had become filled with wickedness, and where every intention of the thoughts of man's heart was only evil continually. This description implies a complete moral collapse of humanity, where violence and corruption spread like a disease. Humanity had in many ways turned its back on the divine principles of love, compassion, and justice. But there was another element present in this corrupt world, a mysterious race called the Nephilim. They were introduced briefly in Genesis 6:4 as giants or mighty men of old. While the details of their origins and characteristics are scarce, these beings are described as both powerful and infamous. The term Nephilim itself is often translated as fallen ones, suggesting not only physical strength, but also moral or spiritual downfall. Many scholars believe that their presence represented a serious disruption to the natural order of God's creation. The world before the flood was a place of lawlessness, greed, and violence. However, the Nephilim, with their seemingly superhuman abilities and influence, intensified the problem. Their dominance over humans likely contributed to a culture where evil could thrive unchecked, adding to the moral crisis that ultimately led to the divine decision to cleanse the earth. The Nephilim are one of the Bible's most enigmatic figures, described in Genesis 6:4 as beings who existed in the days leading up to the flood. They are portrayed as mighty men of old, men of renown, a title that suggests they were both feared and revered. However, it remains unclear if their renown was due to heroism or to their potential for harm. These giants, or fallen ones, are widely believed to have been the offspring of the sons of God and the daughters of men. But who were these sons of God? Some scholars interpret sons of God as angelic beings who descended to earth and, defying divine boundaries, took human women as partners. This act of transgression, crossing the divine-human boundary, produced offspring who may have possessed physical and spiritual attributes that set them apart from ordinary humans. Whether they were actual giants in size or giants in influence, the Nephilim represented a merging of worlds, symbolizing a rebellion against the natural order that God had intended for creation. This union led to beings with extraordinary size, power, and perhaps even supernatural abilities, who could dominate humanity both physically and culturally. The implications of the Nephilim's presence were profound. They introduced a new kind of moral decay, one that blurred the lines between humanity and the divine. This intermingling potentially brought knowledge, strength, or even dark wisdom that corrupted human society further. The existence of the Nephilim was, in many ways, a symptom of a world out of balance, where divine boundaries were ignored and humanity was left vulnerable to both physical and spiritual corruption. In contrast to the chaos, violence, and corruption of his time, Noah is introduced as a righteous man, blameless in his generation. He stands out as a beacon of faith, loyalty, and morality in a world that has lost its way. Genesis describes him as someone who walked with God, highlighting his relationship with the divine as one based on trust, obedience, and reverence. Amidst a world that had turned its back on God, Noah's integrity and steadfastness earned him a unique place in the unfolding narrative. God reveals to Noah a plan for judgment and renewal. A great flood would wash away the world's wickedness, sparing only Noah, his family, and the creatures that would be preserved on the ark. God's decision to bring about a flood was not only a response to the general wickedness of humanity, but also a specific act aimed at eliminating the Nephilim and their influence from the earth. These beings, whose presence symbolized humanity straying from divine order, were seen as a threat to the purity and balance of God's creation. The calling of Noah was thus both an act of mercy and an act of justice. Through Noah, humanity would have a second chance, a chance to rebuild in alignment with God's will. Noah's faith and willingness to obey, even in the face of an unknown and terrifying future, became central to humanity's survival. By choosing Noah, God ensured that righteousness would endure through the flood, setting the stage for a new chapter in human history. The ark represents more than a simple boat. It is a symbol of salvation, divine purpose, and a new beginning. God commanded Noah to build an ark large enough to withstand the immense waters that would cover the earth. This vessel would carry Noah, his family, and pairs of animals, preserving the spark of life through the coming destruction. The ark was to be constructed with specific measurements and materials, symbolizing the meticulous and intentional nature of God's plan. In a world filled with chaos and violence, the ark stood as a place of refuge. It was not merely a physical structure, but a sanctuary where those who walked with God could find safety from the coming judgment. Noah's willingness to build the ark, despite the ridicule or skepticism he may have faced, reflects his commitment to God's will. His obedience and diligence in constructing the ark demonstrated his trust in God's plan and a belief that the world, though broken, was worth saving. Entering the ark was more than seeking protection from the physical destruction. It was a profound act of faith. By boarding the ark, Noah and his family were aligning themselves with God's will, setting themselves apart from a society that had chosen sin over righteousness. The ark, therefore, symbolized a covenant, a sacred agreement between Noah and God, where faithfulness would be rewarded with preservation. The ark became the physical and spiritual divide between those who chose righteousness and those consumed by corruption. The flood represents one of the most definitive acts of judgment in the Bible. As the rain began to pour and the waters rose, the entire world was submerged. This was not merely a natural disaster, but a targeted act of divine judgment, sweeping away every form of life that had been corrupted. The Nephilim, giants who once roamed the earth and symbolized humanity's defiance of divine order, were extinguished by these waters, erased from the land they once dominated. It was a moment where creation met destruction, and in this clash, God's will prevailed. The flood was not only a physical cleansing, but also a symbolic act meant to wash away the moral corruption that had taken root in humanity. It represented a reset, a chance to purify the earth and restore balance. The Nephilim, with their strength, stature, and potential for domination, had introduced a profound imbalance. Their presence was a reminder of human disobedience and divine defiance. By removing them, God reaffirmed his commitment to preserving a world where righteousness could thrive. The flood also underscored the idea that divine justice, while powerful and often beyond human understanding, was rooted in a desire to restore balance. God's actions demonstrated a profound commitment to the preservation of good and the elimination of evil. The waters that washed away the earth's corruption were also waters of renewal, marking the end of one era and the beginning of another. Following the flood, humanity was given a new beginning. Yet hints of the Nephilim reappear in later biblical accounts, such as in the tales of the giants in Canaan and the towering figure of Goliath. These mentions suggest that the influence of the Nephilim, though diminished, continued to cast a shadow over humanity. The reappearance of giants serves as a reminder of the ongoing struggle against forces that seek to corrupt and dominate. Some scholars believe that the presence of giants in later times symbolizes the persistence of evil's influence, showing that human struggles against corruption are ongoing. This presence illustrates the biblical message that evil, though temporarily subdued, must be continually confronted. Even with the flood's destruction of the Nephilim, humanity's journey toward righteousness is a continuous battle, where vigilance and faith are needed to resist corruption and live in harmony with divine intentions. The story of the flood and the Nephilim is not merely historical, but also a moral and spiritual teaching. The presence of the Nephilim highlighted how unchecked corruption can take root and grow, impacting all of creation. Noah's faithfulness amidst chaos stands as an example of righteousness, showing that alignment with divine principles offers protection and purpose. God's judgment through the flood serves as a reminder of the seriousness of spiritual corruption and the necessity for renewal. By examining the lives of both the wicked and the righteous, the Bible emphasizes the value of living in harmony with divine intentions. Noah's faith and obedience provide a timeless lesson in the importance of moral integrity, showing that even in the darkest times, standing firm in one's beliefs can lead to protection and deliverance. Today, the story of the flood, Noah, and the Nephilim offers a reflection on the nature of humanity and divine justice. It reminds us of the consequences of moral decay and the importance of upholding values that foster a healthy world. The flood serves as a warning and a guide, showing that a single person's faithfulness can lead to preservation and new beginnings. The enduring legacy of the Nephilim symbolizes the ongoing struggle with inner and outer influences that divert us from our higher purpose. Just as Noah's family survived by choosing a path of righteousness, we are invited to align our lives with values that transcend the temporary allure of power and corruption. In choosing integrity, we may each find our own arcs or places of protection and peace. In reflecting on Noah's Ark, the flood, and the Nephilim, we uncover a story that speaks beyond its ancient origins. It tells of a divine reset, a moment where the forces of creation clashed with those of destruction, leading to a renewed hope for humanity. For those who choose to follow a path of integrity and faith, the Ark remains a symbol of protection. The story encourages us to seek out our own arcs of purpose, committing ourselves to lives that align with principles of goodness, justice, and resilience.